try to, but she didn't know for sure she'd make it.
Yeah, I got her sort of standard email response thing that mentioned that she was going to be possibly out of range. So I think we're going to start to honor everyone's time. And as we have some new people today, I'd like us to go around and introduce ourselves. You can say your name, the parent center you're with, and the state it's in. And I think we'll just start there. Oh, you can mention if your parent center is currently involved in working with military families. So I'm going to start at the upper left of my screen, and that would be Roz.
Hello, I'm in Spokane, Washington, Parent Training and Information Center, and I am near Fairchild Air Force Base, and yes, we do work with families and have a connection there.
Awesome, thank you. And of course, I'm Barb Kumjian. I'm with the branch, the Military Parent Technical Assistance Center. We operate out of PAVE, the PTI in Washington State, which is in Tacoma. I, however, work remotely. I'm in Vermont, which is pretty close to as remote from PAVE as you can possibly get. And the next person on my screen is Ms. Saunders, Barbie.
Hi, everyone. I am Barbie Saunders. I am with AmeriCorps, but working at Peel, which is the PTI in the state of Pennsylvania. And I spoke to our director, Janine Brinkley, and I gave her a summary of the conference. And I also did some research on finding some upcoming veteran events where we can attempt to connect to military families. So Peel is very excited about trying to reach out and connect to military families. We aren't right now, but after attending the conference and giving a summary, that is the interest of the organization. And from my report and the list of activities that I have presented to Janine Brinkley, there are some veterans job fairs that Peel is planning on trying to attend and set up resource table to make an effort to get out there and start connecting with military families.
Wow. Yes, that's great. Tracy, you're next on my little screen.
Lovely. Hi, all. I'm Barb's sidekick, and I happen to be in Washington State and with the branch. And I am taking notes, and we're a team with all of you. So thank you for all the good work you do. Thank you for this project that we're working on together. I know that we have been informing our grant officer, Carmen Sanchez, and she is really ecstatic to hear all this good work that you all are doing. And so we'll be seeing her next week, or at least I'll be seeing her next week for the OSEP leadership. If anybody's going to be there, I'll be on that side of the town, and Barb and Yasmin Butler, who's our STOMP director, will be on the other side of DC at the MSEC conference. So looking forward to seeing folks who are in the DC area, and we continue to carry on and share the good work that you all are doing with Carmen. So I just wanted to give that plug that she's well aware and very appreciative of what you guys are doing. So thank you very much for all that. And Barbie, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
We were in your hometown of Pennsylvania not too long ago, so good to see you.
Yeah. Okay, Elizabeth is next on my little screen here.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth Allen. I am with Family Connection of South Carolina, and we are the PTI here. We have worked some with Fort Jackson, which is an Army base that's just a couple miles up the road from our office. We're still in the process of trying to get onto other bases, but got a couple things going on at Fort Jackson. And we just got the agenda for the STOMP folks coming in September, so we're looking forward to maybe getting involved with that somehow.
Well, Shirley, thanks, Elizabeth. Shirley, you are next on the list.
Hi, I'm Shirley Swope with Peak Parent Center in Colorado. And you said what state you're in. We're in the state of confusion. Does that count?
Oh, no.
We're in the state of summer, actually. It's very nice here. And I work with Fort Carson, which is a big Army base, and Peterson Air Force Base, and Schriever Air Force Base, and the Air Force Academy. It's all in the Colorado Springs area. So with the Stomp is coming to Peterson in August, the end of August, and I'll participate in that. And they invite the PTIs to come and, give information about the PTIs and local resources. So it's a really good opportunity to meet the military families and give your information. And then I'm doing a workshop for Fort Carson in September.
Wow, they keep you hopping. That's awesome. Next, I have a little square that says Tina Andrews. Tina, you can turn off your mic, but you can, yes, and she's got her video going. Yay! Awesome. Thank you.
I am Tina Andrews. I am joining you from Delaware, the Parent Information Center of Delaware. Here we are the PTI. And since the conference, I have met with Dover Air Force Base is our local installation here. I met with the new school family liaison there. She had been in her job for a week, but she had run the Child Development Center there. She was the director, and she has been part of a military family for 30 years. So it was wonderful to meet with her. She was getting ready to head to the Military Child Conference that is coming up for them in DC. So she had told me that she would collect information for me. And we are setting up workshops and events for her families, but they have their first parent council meeting, or whatever they call it, in September. So she is going to get us on the docket there. And I'm going to, next month, there's a committee here called the Delaware Joining Forces Committee, which is our Veterans Affairs and all the local organizations that work with the military. And they come together and talk about resources and promote stuff and get stuff done for the families. So we're making progress here. We are changing our website. We have put in, changed our Salesforce to collect information about our military families.
Wow.
Are right now getting some pictures to our website. So we're moving ahead here.
Congratulations. Boy, you guys are cooking with gas. So you and Barbie and everyone, this is just so energizing to even hear about it. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Next, I have another little square. Karen, who's on the square, has told us that she doesn't have video capabilities today, but she's going to go ahead and introduce herself. Karen. Hello, Karen.
Sorry about that. I was unmuting the wrong way. I'm Karen Lachlan. I'm in North Carolina. So ECAC is our state's PTI. I'm in the land of where it will be hot and humid for at least the next 2.5 to 3 months. And I'm sure some of you can relate, and most of you can't. But because of where I live in the southeastern corner of the state, I became our military liaison person because we've got Fort Bragg and Camp Lejeune and some smaller places, but you probably heard of those big ones. And when we talk about the tool we've all been working on, we're going to use that to launch some more intentional outreach to especially the larger installations and see what we can get going with building some of those relationships back up. It's been a few years since we've had good, solid connections with those big ones, and Fort Bragg and Camp Lejeune. So we're working on it, and we're getting a new website as well, but I'm like a lower level person, so I don't know a lot about it, but I'm hoping that it'll be like what Tina just said, that there is a section for military families. I think there will be. I know there's a lot of interest in making sure we serve the families.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. I've got somebody on the phone, starting with area code 817-988-7717. Can you let us
That's me. This is Shannon Rawson.
Oh, right,
And
Shannon.
Yes,
Sorry.
I'm with Partners Resource Network, which is the PTI in Texas. And I cover like the Fort Worth and areas and surrounding counties. And the only military base that I have nearby is a joint reserve base. And so I work with the school liaison there, and we did STOMP training there, I believe 2 years ago. And just because they're not as active, we don't get as many families called, but definitely as they come in, and the school liaison officer sends them my way. So that's kind of the extent of what I do in my area. Of course, we cover the entire state of Texas, and so we have different regional coordinators that address the needs of the military families on the other bases throughout the state.
Mm-hmm. Great. And Shannon's been a regular attendee here and participant, and it's really good to hear your voice again. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Barb. Thanks.
And I think the next person on the phone is LaJoy. Is that you?
Hi, Barb. I miss you guys. Hi, everybody. I see everyone's faces because I don't have video or microphone, so I had to do it like from the phone, but I see all these familiar faces from the conference, and I'm just excited to be here to share out. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So
Hi.
I don't know, while you were switching over, if you had a chance, we're introducing ourselves by name, by parent center, by state or region, and anything that we've been doing towards working with military families lately.
Yes. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is LaJoy. I am at Advocates for Justice and Education. We are the PTI for Washington, D.C. I came to the Region A conference that we had in Philadelphia, and Barb and the branch team were just amazing. I learned so much about military families, and I have some amazing news. I'm actually going to my first military joint base resource fair on Friday with my supervisor, Maria. Yay! And so I get to, so I'm just like super excited and hoping we can connect with some more families. We've been currently reaching out to our state agency, which in DC is the Office of the State Superintendent on Education. We say OSSE, and we've just been trying to, just to get some more data on military families. And I've also been connecting with Heather, who is our sister PTI in Maryland at Parents Place, on kind of helping us reach those military families. And I've been changing the language when I'm doing intakes now and asking families if they're military connected, because I know there's, it's a lot of sensitive information with the military. And so we've been changing that aspect of it. I think we can't change it in ETO right now, but as soon as we update ETO and maybe go over to Salesforce, we're going to start capturing that information. But just a rough number, this year alone, we've actually served about 15 military families, actually.
All right.
So
I bet your numbers are going to go up as soon as you get the opportunity to really track them officially.
Exactly. So we're just really excited about that, and I'm really excited about the Joint Base Resource Fair, and I'm really excited, just to meet the school liaisons and just everybody there. So happy to be here. You guys were so helpful at the conference.
Wow.
I sat next to Barb.
Yes, that's right. She was with me the whole first day of the conference, and basically helped me survive, you know? Everybody in the room was just absolutely amazing. And, you know, for those of you who are regular attendees on this little group, I just find it so hopeful that everybody who came to the Region A was so motivated, is so motivated, and to do this work. And I'm really hoping that they're joining with us in some ways, or even though they're technically, I'm having this in big air quotes, not the most heavily military impacted states by numbers. You know, places like DC, Delaware, parts of Pennsylvania are pretty darn impacted in their own ways. And, you know, it's just a reality. So I'm very, it's a huge shot in the arm. So what I'd like to do for, I have sort of two things that are sort of scurrying around in my mind. One of them, for you ladies who have not previously been on our calls, is that for several months, the entire group has been providing content and formation advice and editing for a resource that we're trying to create to hand out to military families, to provide to EFMPs and school liaisons, to put up on our websites. It's kind of a template, not the kind of template that rigidly prevents you from editing and making it your own, but a template in terms of what do we want to include that is the most important thing for military families when they first land in our states. What are the burning questions they're likely to have, and how concisely can we answer that and make it really easy for them to find the information that they need quickly, and at the same time direct them to our parent centers. That's a big part of it. So we're going to be taking a look at one version of that today. It's something that Karen has been working on. It was her bright idea initially to get all this information into one document, and she was kind enough to not only plug all the information in, but make it look real good too. So we're going to take a look at that. But also what I'd like to do at this time is kind of open the floor to any kinds of questions from those of you who are joining from the Region A conference, in terms of, are there questions that you would like to ask these parent center staff from our other states? We've got North and South Carolina, Colorado, Washington State represented right now, and I just, you know, this is what we're all about. We bring our gnarly questions, even if they're individual kinds of family issues and things of that nature. Obviously, we don't breach confidentiality, but we're still, you know, we can describe situations if we have them, and see if we need any brainstorming, you know, that would help. So I'm just going to open the floor, or you could ask general questions about outreach or services to some of these people who've been doing it for a while.
I think you've got Texas on the phone too, by the way.
Pardon?
I think you have Texas on the phone too.
Oh, yes, of course I have Texas. Texas.
And my question would be for this group, we see families come into our state with a document that looks nothing like our state IEP document. And I think, or if they're moving from here to somewhere else, they're dealing with the same thing. And services are so totally different state to state. I don't know if this is appropriate, but I wonder if anyone has considered having a standardized one form that all states use and if that's appropriate for this conversation, and or how do the rest of you deal with people coming into the state who received services possibly that your state doesn't support, or that kind of thing. That happens a lot.
Well, in Colorado, every school district almost has their own IEP form. To have a standard form would be like really nice.
Right.
And there is a form from the Colorado Department of Ed that they can choose to use.
Right.
But we are such a local control state that it's like, well, we just want to put our own spin on it. And then it's like, okay, how do we figure out all the parts?
Right.
Hey, there's Jen. Shannon, has Texas, what are the Texans' experiences with that particular kind of situation? Are you aware of any standardization, or is Texas big on local control, or?
So, well, what it comes down to really, in all honesty, is the the computer programs they use. And so every district and throughout the entire state and the state and the country has their own like computerized IEP program they like to use. So, well, here we have obviously many different ones, and so that drives what the paperwork looks like. And so, like a lot of our districts around my area use something called the eSped. Well, another school district neighboring us might not use eSped, and theirs looks totally different than what ours does. So that even happens throughout the state because of the district's availability to choose between competitors of those computer programs. And so that's kind of where that comes from. We do have parents all the time that come in and say, hey, you know, this looks very different. I'm like, yeah, it does. However, you still have a lot of the basic, you know, the same information should be there as far as your goals, your accommodations, your schedule of services, and those type of things. It's just trying to find them within the document because sometimes they're located in different places. Now, I will say with the state of Texas, we have people come in, they move in, and they'll be like, well, we were just able to get this service. We didn't even have to go through these hoops that y'all are making us go through. And it's, you know, they're following the law. They can make you go through the hoops. You know, it's just some people are more accommodating than others, or I should say some states are more accommodating than others. And so Texas is really one of those that kind of digs their heels in, if I'm going to say that as an overall state. But of course, we do have districts that are, you know, more accommodating than others. So yeah, we do see that problem. And one of the other big things that we see, and so people that have families moving from Texas into their state, they may say, well, have you heard of an ARD? Or I have my ARD paperwork, and people are like, well, what is that? Well, it's an IEP. And so here in the state of Texas, we call it an ARD, and it stands for Admission Review Dismissal into the Special Education Program. So we don't have IEP meetings, we have ARD meetings, but we're discussing the IEP. So we even have that bit of lingo that's different within the state of Texas that confuses everybody. So we do have those issues, but again, the standardized form would be phenomenal to have. But it's really driven by the computer programs that the different districts choose to purchase to use for their special education department.
Okay, well, let's see. What about Elizabeth there in, what's the situation where you are? Any enlightenment on your end?
South Carolina uses, all but one county in our state uses the same format. It's called Enrich. And for some reason, Greenville County does their own thing. They're in their own little world up there for some reason in the upstate. But yeah, across the state, everybody else uses the same format.
What about you, Karen?
Yeah, we're switching. I agree with what the other person said. It does come down to the data system. And so North Carolina, this is the second July in a row that they've said they're switching data systems. And I think they really mean to do it this time. And so that drives the forms, and the easiest thing's going to be for every district, because every district's supposed to use the same data system now, which will lead them most likely to using the same forms. So might get easier. What's not easy is that here it is middle of July and school starts a little more than a month, and they're just now training staff on the new forms and the new data systems. So that's not easy. But I had an idea while some of you were talking, which is to maybe work with the bases and the EFMP staff on, even if it was a small workshop, maybe like a translating your IEP to our IEP forms. This would be the time of year to do it in the next month or the next 6 weeks. So I think I might offer that and see if they have interest, especially since all of North Carolina is switching forms right now. It seems like there might be increased interest. But I mean, I thought the original question might have been, has anybody ever considered like a federal form, which
I don't know.
Sovereign states, they'll never agree to that. But it would be nice, if they were more closely aligned.
Yes.
And I think that speaks to the project that we're all working on too, the form that we're talking about. And they have tried. It has been brought up like a universal IEP, that's for language, for, when we're translating and interpreting. So it has been brought forward, that there would be more universal forms. I think, that may be something that all parent centers want to bring up and, keep pushing on, because it has been out there. It has been brought to the Department of Education because of the very, when you think about all the ways in which our various states are duplicating, translating, making copies available, and how confusing it is to families. But again, that's like a big thing to kind of tackle. But I know that topic has come up. I know that, and I don't have all the history in the back of my mind. Maybe others around here do. So I just want to. And then there is a chat box from Tina, Barb, and then just a quick time check. We're at 12:32 to at least allocate time for our project that we want to kind of keep on. So Tina did ask, I had a question from our school liaison. She asked a question about a student that was coming to our base in the middle of the year and had played varsity sports. He was in the 11th grade and was told that he would have to sit out the season and try out the next year. Is this correct? I thought there was language in the Interstate Compact that allowed them to join in activities and sports mid-year. And with that, I will mute myself.
Yes, and the answer, as I chatted back to Tina, is yes, there is language that deals specifically with that very type of issue. But of course, many schools are just completely unaware of it or don't know how to really make the provisions to implement that. Now, the branch just happens to have 2 resources that specifically deal with that, which I will just toot our horn and say that I believe they are much more specific and step-by-step oriented than materials that you can find on the Interstate Compact website, the MIC3. In fact, one of them is called Step-by-Step Checklist to Resolve School Issues. So I'm going to send those to Tina. In fact, I'll send them to everybody that is on the call that has heard this question, and I will also send them out subsequently with our notes, so that you can take a look at them. And they're designed more or less for parents, not for school liaisons, but the school liaison will be able to see exactly where he or she fits in to that process when he or she looks at that form. So yeah, I will do that immediately that we're off the call. Okay, hope it helps.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to mention that Jen Cole from PAVE in Washington State has joined us. Jen, you want to say hi?
Hi there, everyone. Sorry I joined late. This was great conversation. Thank you.
Yes, and if you see some slightly less familiar faces around the table, as it were, Barbara Saunders, Tina Andrews, and the not visible LaJoy are people who attended our Region A conference and are part of the Region A Community of Practice group. And so we've really benefited from having them with us today. And just very briefly, does anybody else have something that's on their minds that they would like to either share with the group or ask the group? I want to be aware that we need and want to spend some time on our project today.
Barb, we also just had our Region B regional training several weeks ago and had a good presentation from Carrie out of the PTC in Virginia on military stuff. She's a military spouse and was very informative. Had good attendance.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Region
Yeah.
B.
Yeah, I met Carrie for the first time last year at the MSEC, the Military Child Education Coalition symposium in DC, and it was so funny because we just, you know, we ended up sitting next to each other in a session, and it turns out, you know, we're both in the Parent Center world, tiny little world. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and when that happens, oddball things happen to my ability to visualize all of you. So I may not see by your expressions that you want to speak up, so you'll just kind of have to be overt. And what we're seeing here is what Karen has done with the template we've all been working on. And I can reduce the size of to show what it's all kind of looks like, and then we can go through it sort of step by step. This is the first page. Starts with how many people are able to even see what this says, or are you just sort of getting a general blur?
I can kind of see it.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Sort of. Well, the way Karen has laid it out, there's general education information, which is specific contacts. Then there's special ed information. Then in this sidebar is a lovely little blurb about ECAC, the North Carolina Parent Center.
I think, Barb, if you pump up your resolution, the screen in the center might get that. If you hit that, yep. Go ahead and zoom that bigger, then it'll get bigger for everybody else.
Yeah, no, I just wanted people to see the total.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Barb.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yes.
Anytime.
Yep. So here, Karen has described what's going on in North Carolina, which, as you can see, is pretty succinct. Special ed right below it. And then the blurb on ECAC, which I think is pretty cool. And then just below that, this was a section that we added in from our original. What these would be questions by putting down the types of questions that parent centers get asked. It can help families think about what they want to call you about, if anything. Karen, can I assume that the blue highlighted text is going to lead to something directly on ECAC's website? Maybe not.
Sorry, I couldn't find me. No, I think it's just, well, because I get no credit for the formatting, like zero.
Oh, okay.
So I just submitted, text, and then it came up looking like this. Because it's back and forth with the black, I'm going to guess no. That it's
Yeah.
just to look a little, pull the questions out a little better with the two colors.
Okay, yeah, no, I couldn't, when I was in the Word document, it wasn't clickable, and I was just curious. And yes, and again, down at the bottom, we've got another way to contact ECAC. And then we're on page 2. That's the one with the picture of the school bus. Now, this is this is really the reason we designed this form, or decided to design this form. North Carolina may differ from other states in these areas. So she's covering the infant, toddler, preschool, initial evaluation, re-eval, the eligibility categories, that's a big one. Informal dispute resolutions, powers of the principals, IEP forms, I'm scrolling down, worksheets to decide if your child might fit into a disability category, and some of the specific items for unique policies. And
Unique's one word for it, but we chose a.
yeah, I think we're those of us who have been talking to you for any length of time, we're pretty clear. Yes, I think some of us do live in states where unique is probably
yeah, it's about the most generous thing you can say.
yeah, it's a very tactful way of putting it. Yes. Now, and she's also added a little box. There's a little box at the bottom to put in other resources. So one of the things, as Karen was sending this to me, one of her concerns is this document has become very succinct, but possible, and this is going to work great if you're laying it out on a website, but these types of links where all you're doing is, where the link is not spelled out, is not going to help a parent if it's printed out as a handout. So my feedback on this would be, yes, it takes up more room. Yes, it makes it look busy. Yes, links can be kind of fussy to type out for somebody who's looking at it, but I think that the links, I think it needs to be in both formats. I think the links, if you're going to put in links, then the links also have to be typed out if it's going to be printable, or have 2 versions or something. That would be my feedback. And I know, Karen, that you had raised that concern.
Yeah, that was because my director's, she's 29, I think now. So in her mind, everything is electronic, and we do still print. We print a lot less, but I'm kind of leaning towards 2 versions, like you said, Barb, because then you got a really nice clean version like this that are so easy just to click, but then you could provide a printable version, or maybe you could even do some sort of listing of links or something. But anyway, that's work that we still need to do on this.
Yeah, and there's no limitations, but one of the things that was raised about the usage for this would be not only having it on our websites, but bringing it as a handout to parent trainings on or near installations, and providing them as a hard copy to EFMPs and school liaisons. So I'd kind of like to hear from the rest of the group your thoughts on, do we feel that this covers what we had talked about? Is there anything that
Is there any way for,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, is there any way for y'all to send that in an email to us so I can see it? Because I'm only on the phone today, so I can't even see what you're talking about.
Oh,
So that way we
Oh,
can
I'm so
do
sorry.
feedback. No, that's okay. But like if we could get an email copy and look at it and kind of give feedback that way as well.
Yep, sure, can do.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Will do. And it basically follows, not necessarily the layout, but it follows the topics that were on the draft version that was in the previous email. So if you have, and you should have that, so you can do a little comparison when that is sent out.
Yeah, so just a reminder, we have been working in that Word document, which you all are, you can change up for your state, because again, it's not Barb and I saying like what needs to be there for each of the states. However, North Carolina went ahead and put theirs in a layout with graphics and imagery as a great prototype. So the hope is that all of us, this has been our working, is to get to a number of our states doing this, and then a number of our states putting them on the website and kind of promoting and saying that. And I think we could probably get SIPR to also say, check out this new form that some of the parent centers are having out there. So that's something we can certainly discuss and broker as we talk with them over the course of the next few months. But again, you all can organize it and put it in a layout that makes sense. But the most important part is that we're having some basics and that we're each having this, so that when families are leaving Washington, I can say, go to the North Carolina website or wherever this is. And if as a team, even if we have it, we could share that with families when we know they're going there. So I'm just thank you, North Carolina, for sticking your neck out, and most of all for your team's effort in this layout. I mean, visually it's very pleasing and gives us all some really good thoughts on, hopefully spurs and inspires all of us to do this for our own organizations, so we all can do this.
Totally great. And was this your intern that worked on this, Karen?
No, this was our new PTI manager. Her name is Cache Owens, and she's been with us for a year. And she just brings this skill set. This is so easy for her. It just kills me. I mean, she has. I sent her a bunch of words, and she sent me back this in about 3 hours. So, and then I, asked her to tweak a couple things, and yeah, so it's been really great working with her on that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Just pass along our thanks, will you? I hope.
Yeah, I will. And any feedback, if we want to share it around as a Word document and use those little comment bubbles or whatever. And I'm a little obsessive with my words, so I'm going to still be tweaking the questions and things. So those are not, the words we're going to live and die with, but I just wanted to get into the general areas based on some of our conversations. Well, kind of like what, Texas said today, well, we don't even call it an IEP. Hopefully there's a place here where you would put that in there. Like I wanted to, for example, the first point under special ed in North Carolina being that it's all EC, and maybe that's where Texas would say we call it, those 3 letters instead of IEP, things like that. That I did speak with Carrie Pecco that somebody mentioned. I called another mom who I had heard say in a different context that she's lived in, I think, 11 different states. And so I asked her, what are the things that are different? And she said that, she gave me a bunch of specifics, but she said that, this is how organized she is. Whenever she was moving, she would go to the new state's website, print out their IEP forms, and then do like a translation. And she would be that prepared. But
wow.
It sounds exceptional to me. I can't imagine that everybody would do that. But she said, this is what I want you all to hear. She said, she firmly believes, this was maybe Carrie that said this. One of them said, if they had known about PTIs 17 years ago, they would have a different child right now. And that they learned that much from dealing with PTIs that they think their child's education would have been just that much better.
Wow.
So our work is important.
Yeah, it's a little sad too.
I know, you hear that too much.
Well, I'm taking out the share the screen because it drives me nuts that I can't even see who's talking or who's on the screen. So you'll just have to forgive me. That's my little issue here. I'd like to ask what people, as this particular project is wrapping up, if, especially for some of our newer attendees, if you have any particular interests that you'd like to have as regular discussion items, or at least discussion items for our next meeting going forward, if there's anything we can help with, if there's any supports we can bring. Sometimes it's hard to know what you don't know until you don't know it. So, no pressure.
Well, I would love, like some people talked to today. So, I mean, if anybody wants to take us through screenshots, we can share our screen and some screenshots of people's websites of what they're doing in their websites to be inclusive to military families. I heard people talking about some very concrete changes that they were doing. So we can definitely showcase to each other, because again, this is about sparking ideas and brainstorms. I know that folks are going to resource fairs and doing some joint stuff. So, you know, LaJoy, if you wanted to share any pics and kick off with, how was your first big joint base resource fair? It sounds like something we might know about, but it may not. It'd be maybe so totally different that it's worth replicating in other joint bases and places that people are doing things. So to me, some shared today would be really exciting for you all to kind of showcase, and we can share screens and take a look at each other and see how those are going and inspire and spark each other. So if folks are willing, that's one thing I would love to see next time.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I can't wait to go. Oh, hi, everybody. This is LaJoy. I can't wait to go on Friday to, like, share out, like, what's going to happen, because this is, like, my first one. I think we're expecting maybe around 50 families. And it's, again, it's joint service, so it's going to be, you know, from everybody. So I'm excited to really see how this is like going to go, and who knows if I'll have tips, who really knows. But it's good to have these calls, and I think it's also good to partner with people who are in another state but that are still close. Like I know, like Heather at Parents Place in Maryland, she's just been an amazing help. And so just to make sure that we all, you know, just kind of, you know, partner with those who are close to you, and then also to even share their information, because when we're going to events now, we're actually going to be sharing some of Parents Place information so that way families know. And then when Parents Place goes to certain fairs or, you know, does any outreach, they're going to be handing out our information, you know, to help reach families who are in the, you know, DC. So, yeah, I'm excited. Can't wait to share.
That's sweet.
Yes.
I don't want to sound like, you know, I'm floating these ideas to a parent center when I'm a TA center, but one of the things that has come up at many conferences that the branch has attended has been not necessarily a formalized way, but a more organized way or a quicker way of doing what I'd call a warm handoff from one parent center to the next. And I was thinking about this particularly, I was sending out invitations for parent centers to go to the STOMP training. You probably just got one, Elizabeth. I think you sent me a thank you, yeah, and Shannon. And one of the things that occurred to me was that even with my really huge list of contacts, I still had to go and look some people up, because for some reason they were in states that I hadn't had a lot of contact with. For some reason they didn't make it into my Outlook on a permanent basis, whatever. And it's a real pain to do that. And any of those kinds of barriers that prevent us from doing something as quickly as possible. You know, aside from like loading every parent center employee into our Outlook contacts, which sounds horrendous, I'd just like to put it out there, and I'll put it out to the whole group for next time. I'd like us to kind of tickle our brains and think about, you know, perhaps we can come up with like a separate mailing list from this group or something like that, something that already exists, and distribute it to us. And think about the ways that you would like to have it, and how, you know, in what format would you like to have it, and what would work best for you. So that's kind of something that I would like to be able to see this group get input on.
Barb, you said like parent PTI handoff to PTI, correct?
Yeah, or CPRC, yes.
Right, gotcha. So my thing is with that is typically when people move, like they don't well, at least for us, they don't contact me and say, hey, I'm moving to Colorado. Can you put me in touch with the next person? It's like we go through everything with them. And as they need us, they reach out, you know, but we don't particularly know when they're going to be moved. So, I mean, I think that would be a great idea. It's just, you know, they don't come to us and say, hey, by the way, I'm moving. So I just don't know how that would, I mean, of course, if one did, that would be an easy handoff, but that's just not something typically that happens in at least our neck of the woods.
I guess one would have to be thinking about parent centers along with everything else when you're getting ready to PCS. And
right.
Yeah.
And it could be like when they PCS, like if the FMP has a form of, hey, these are the people to contact, they could always, you know, if they'd be willing to put on there your PTI. So that way they are letting you know, hey, I'm moving, so who do I need to get in touch with, you know, in the next state I'm going to? Because then that would be easy to get them in contact. And even if they don't know who their PTI is, where they currently are, because they've never reached out before, they could still reach out and we could put them in touch with the next people, and hopefully that would help them in the future with the education process.
Yes.
Just a thought there.
Yeah, and it just recently, it's completely possible for somebody to be in touch with a parent center and get all types of help from them, and not really realize that they're even more than nationwide, that it's a network, you know?
Right.
So
and we
they may
tell
not
them
even,
that.
they may not even know that they can go to a parent center in any state, you know?
Right, right. And that's one of the things that we try to make sure that we tell them, you know, here in Texas, that every state has one. But of course, as most everybody knows, you're trying to PCS and do all sorts of things. Sometimes that's not the first thing on your mind, and it gets lost in the paperwork, and you just don't think about it.
Yeah, that's totally true. This is Tracy, and that's totally, you know, without a doubt, that does happen. And I think you're right. You'd have to be talking to somebody and then have to say that they are moving. I think that also speaks to the relationships that you all are intentionally building up, you know, at the school liaison office, and was formerly an officer, but because I'm changing my language, got to get to there. And the EFMP folks, because this is the time period. Usually summers are a big PCSing time. So it just sparked in my brain, because just the other day, well, it's probably been going on for about a month and a half, we had a infant mental health group wanting a focus group. And so they were utilizing, they're on the western side of the states in Washington, and they were utilizing EFMP at our joint base. And after quite a while of conversations, it finally came that they weren't going to be able to share any families or share the infant mental health focus group that they were trying to run. And so they came back to us and said, could you send it out? And just coincidentally, the poll for the emails in possibly the western side of the state is 936. So I have no idea if those people are still in Washington, those emails still work. They are the ones that aren't bouncing back because our pipeline, our e-newsletter is going out to them. So it gave, what you're talking about gave me the thought of, oh, it's summertime. A lot of people are moving. So this is a great opportunity for us to send a blanket email. If you know a family or you are a family that are moving, here's the link to find your parent center in the next state. Here's the link to tell friends that if you're moving, because a lot of, military families know each other in various installations, and that word of mouth can be super helpful. And of course, we talk about it at the STOMP trainings, and I know you all talk about it too when you know. So it just sparked for me to just do an intentional email in the summertime, because you're right. We're all relying on EFMP family members, EFMP members, to tell them, the staff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea. And I'm going to suggest that to the gal who runs our Facebook page too. Just put it on Facebook. And I was emailing a guy who's moving from Australia to the United States to move anywhere in the nation. And he's looking for the best state for his twin boys who have autism. One's nonverbal. And so he just found us on a web, just doing a web search and found us. So I've been emailing him, and it's really kind of interesting. When you do have those families who are searching for that kind of information, and it's like, where do I start? And military families, especially the young ones, when they go to a base and then they have a baby and then a disability is identified, they're just starting and then they're moving. They go, I don't know what to do. And so that's a very good reminder of that. And this guy is ex-Air Force too, by the way. So he's, but it's really interesting to kind of, where do you start? So I guided him to the Parent Center Hub to find the parent centers for each state. So he may be contacting all of you and asking you about, autism in your state. So just be prepared.
Thanks, Shirley.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Yeah.
You put us all on notice, so that's good.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm sending everybody the document version and the PDF version of our little creation, or ECAC's creation. Many, many thanks again. And I see that it is now 1 p.m.
And will you also put the link in, just a little shout out, Barb, for MSEC, the conference that's next week, so people have a sense of that, because again, we're just tossing around a bunch of acronyms, so then people could look at what that is. And anybody who's in an eastern seaboard state that wants to come in or is near DC. And then the list of STOMP, because right now they're in Fort Hood, July 15, 16 just got completed, and July 18, 19 they're at Fort Bliss, and then the list is up for the upcoming training, so that if you know and want to partner, you have that as well for colleagues. With that, thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.